Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to Take on Tottenham. My name is Ben, and this is my take on Tottenham. I think is how we all feel. Big sigh of relief. I have one question though, just for the universe. When you become a Tottenham fan, do you sign an unwritten contract to you know that you have to go through the ringer supporting the club through thick and thin, of course, but every single time it's always a roller coaster ride. It's always difficult. They never do it easily. They had the chance. They did have the chance. I've said multiple times that they don't like being given gifts. If other teams lose around them, Spurs have the chance to gain ground or put a gap between them and other teams. They will undoubtedly drop points that weekend. Um, they don't like things like that. And not last week, the week before, when with the Sporting game, they had the chance to qualify for the group. They had their chances. I'm taking that VAR decision out of the equation. They had enough chances to win the game, and they still made it difficult for themselves, and dropped points, and made it have to go into this game needing at least a draw. And they left it until virtually the last kick of the game to ensure that they finished top of the group. Full-time result: Marseille 1, Tottenham 2. Wow, it was an up and down game, as it was all been always this season. Let's just start with the team selection. Lucas Moura starting. I'm not a fan of it. Nothing against Lucas Moura, but I feel like Brian Hill is really being shafted at the minute. I don't know why. I just think the guy needs some game time. I just thought, Lucas Moura's not got the same pace as he used to. I feel like Brian Hill has been doing enough recently to warrant a start at least. But no Brian Hill. Sessegnon starting right wing back. Perisic was on the left, which was very strange. They've played together before, but it's always been Perisic on the right, Sessegnon on the left. Not a fan of that one. And as I keep saying, and as everyone keeps saying, first half was abysmal. First half. If you're going to watch us this, I might just start doing this. I might ignore the first half. Whatever games we play now, ignore the first half, and I will switch the TV on for the second half, and that'll be when the game starts for me. Because every first half, it's just the worst. It's absolutely terrible. I keep saying they're a one-half team, they're a one-half team, they're a one-half team, and this game was the absolute epitome of that. You thought Bournemouth was. No, this game was absolutely no possession, no chances, nothing after 15 minutes. Like I said, Spurs, all they needed was a draw. And what did they do? They went into a packed out, is it the Velodrome, I think it's called? Packed out arena. The crowd are going for it. And they just seemed happy to just invite, let Marseille have the chances, let the crowd get behind them more and more, get them amped up and everything like that. And then I just can't understand that. I think if you show up in that stadium and you go on the attack and you try and shut that crowd up, try and silence them early on, get an early goal, really take the game to them, show up, play them at their own game. And I just felt like Spurs were just like, I'm going to let them play up to it. I'm going to let them play up. The atmosphere was going to get better for them. It was loud. I just don't understand it personally. They were so invisible, the whole team in that first half. Sessegnon, I felt in particular, was struggling at right wing back. He was allowing too much space for Tavares. Kane was quiet. I really didn't like what I wrote here. It's just 2 words. It went Son directionless. I felt really sad writing that because that's not something I ever thought I would write for Sonny, because he's such a good player. And and he's going through a rough period at the minute this season. I know he had the hat-trick against Leicester, which he proved that it's still there, but it's tough. It is a tough watch at the minute with Sonny, and I think his only saving grace in terms of him starting is the fact that Richarlison and Kulusevski are both injured. I even think there's a bit of a case, and people might come after me for saying this, but I think there's a case at the minute to start Bryan Hill over Sonny, because and I know I don't mean that in a horrible way, but I just mean Bryan Hill has shown direction. He's shown a willingness to go forward and take the ball forward. He's, and everything like that. Sonny, when I wrote the word directionless, and it's because it kind of was. He gets the ball, and then the Sonny we know and love is the one that gets the ball and runs forward, or he finds Kane making a run and stuff like that. And at the minute, he's getting the ball and he's turning the other way, and he's looking, and then his back's to goal, and he's looking for a pass to make backwards, and he's not. Something's not right there, and I don't know if he just needs a rest or anything like that. But it's not looking good at the minute. It's not, and like I said, I think the only saving grace is that the other two are injured. I think they would have both been probably playing over him at the minute if you base it off form. So yeah, it's not good. Unfortunately, after that, then Sonny actually went off injured. He took a nasty whack. It wasn't intentional. I can't remember who it was, but the shoulder came and smacked him right there, right on his cheek. It was a nasty whack, but it didn't look like it was that bad. And then I think his cheek was starting to swell up a little bit, and he was not with it. He was definitely concussed. He couldn't even walk straight. So yeah, it was a bit of a problem. That was right decision to take him off, because obviously we have to focus on the player's safety at the very core of it. But yeah, that was a bit of a hit. But Bissouma then came on for Sonny. And I have to say, again, I really don't want to sound harsh. I don't want anyone to think that I'm just going in on Sonny, because I love Sonny. He's my favourite player in the squad. He's such a good guy, and he is a world-class talent. He's just going through a rough patch at the minute. But I actually did feel like Spurs looked better when he went off. I don't know why, but Kane, they had a little bit of a spell after he went off where they started actually believing that they might be able to go forward a bit. They didn't create anything, but at least they were starting to go forward. But then we kind of went back into the same routines. We started, letting Marseille come back at us again. A poor clearance from Sessegnon led to, I think, was it Sanchez made the chance? I can't remember. Proper stinging volley that Lloris had to get really stretched across for. Brilliant save for him. And they were just poor in possession. They were just so poor in possession. There was no, especially with Sonny now off as well. You've lost the pace there. Kane was dropping deeper and deeper as well, and he had no one really linking up with him. Lucas Moura was really far back. There was no attack and no counter. Spurs, the only thing that they could rely on in their game plan of allowing Marseille to come onto them, they had no counter to that, which is ironic because that's exactly what they needed. They had no counter to that because they weren't countering. They were just penned back. Every single Spurs player was in their own half, and yeah, it wasn't very good. And the poor in possession, that they had this thing where they just kept. They keep playing it around at the back. I don't know if Lloris is struggling with goal kicks or something, but he'll pass it to his central defender, and then they'll lump it forward, and it just gets given away, and then they come again. Kane was just dropping too deep as well. Like I said a minute ago, he was just dropping way too deep to have an impact on anything. He can hold the ball up, he can run with the ball quite well, and he's got a good strength on him, but he's not got the pace of Sonny, and he's not going to just carry that ball and take on like 4 defenders and stuff just with his pace alone. So obviously, if Kane's dropping too deep, the counter attack is pretty much null and void at that point, because there's no one else to do it. Like I said earlier, Lucas Moura, Still has a bit of pace, but he's not got the pace that he used to have. And your pacey players are not really there. We've got Bentancur, who does have pace, but again, he was sitting deep in the first half. Højbjerg, again, strong, but not pacey. Bissouma, not pacey. And then you're relying on your wing backs, but Sessegnon and Perisic weren't having a good time either. So Spurs were really nullified in that first half, and they were poor. And then, rightfully so, Marseille got their goal, very much deserved. It was poor marking. I felt Bentancur, Longley, Perisic, really poor. And Bemba was just allowed a free header virtually. I just think it was very poor. And literally going into, because of the added time that was added on, it was nearly 52 minutes the first half. But after the first 45 minutes, let's be honest, the first 51 minutes of the match, Spurs had no shots, no chances, no counter-attacks, and they posed no threat, nothing. And then it was only just before half-time when Kane pulled off a shot from distance that Paul Lopez was actually called into action. But that was the first shot on target. Really poor, I think. Second half, a different team came out, didn't they? Emerson Royale came out, and I can tell you everyone probably gave a massive sigh at that change. Granted, Sessegnon wasn't having a great game himself. But yeah, Royale came on. And to be fair, in hindsight, he had an okay game. I'll give him that. He had an okay game. He had a couple of iffy times. He went down like he'd been shot, even though he just got shoulder barged. I don't like that part. He had one time that he could have just headed the ball back towards the halfway line where a player was waiting, and he for some reason looked like he was going to do that, and then it went right out of play. But I think on the whole, he had a good game, and that's rare praise, but it's praise, so take it while you can. He had a couple of good crosses as well that caused a bit of trouble for the Marseille defence and Lopez in the goal. But yeah, he had an okay game. You can record that one if you want. And we got our goal again. Like I said, second half team came out. I'm going to start referring, and I might do that in actual future videos. I might refer to this as first half team and second half team. So second half team came out, much improved. They got a goal. Clement Longley, of all people, the centre back, popping up when we needed a goal. Brilliant. I think it was a free kick that came with brilliant cross in from Perisic, and Longley just looked like a man possessed. Jumped up, really extended his neck, got a header on, and it went in the far corner. Brilliant goal, brilliant finish, and Spurs were a lot better in that second half. They really were. I actually didn't write too much in the second half because I was so I was literally just watching it like that because I was so nervous. Højbjerg hit the crossbar, and Marseille had their chances as well. I think who was it? The former Arsenal guy. I can't remember his name. Kolasinac missed probably the golden chance, to be honest. He had a header that he was completely open for. He headed it down and somehow it went wide. It seemed harder to miss. But yeah, Spurs rode their luck at times. But they showed character in that second half. They dug down deep, and that's what I ask. If you watch my channel, you will know that that's exactly what I asked for. I asked for them to show courage. I asked for them to give everything. It's a shame that everything comes in a 45-minute period, usually the second half. But yeah, they showed it on Saturday, and they showed it again today, and that's good. Højbjerg, like I said, hit the crossbar, and it was one of those times where you think that would have put the game to bed. I think it was 85 minutes on the clock, and you were like, right, that's the game to bed if that goes in. And then it didn't, and you went, I know what's going to happen here. Luckily, Spurs held on, and then right at the end, literally last kick of the game, Højbjerg got the goal, his deserved goal, because he improved in the second half as well. Marseille threw everyone forward. Kane got the ball, passed it to a completely empty Højbjerg. He took the ball forward. It looked like he took it a bit too wide, and he smashed it from an angle into the far corner. It was a brilliant finish, really brilliant finish from him. But yeah, it was hard work, as it always is, as we know. I did have to question the subs. I do have to question the subs at times because I did find myself. I kept saying like with Brian Hill. I am petitioning for Brian Hill to get more game time. Apparently, um, he just. I don't know. I just felt like Spurs in that last sort of 5-10 minute spell. Marseille were pushing everything forward. That enabled the ability to counter attack, as was proved in that last act of the game with goal. But I feel like if you'd brought Brian Hill on earlier instead of bringing him on the literally the 90th minute, they brought him on just to probably waste time. Lucas Moura, like I said, love his energy and his optimism, but he's not got the same pace in the tank as he used to. And I just felt like you could have brought Brian Hill on with about 15 minutes left. Marseille will absolutely be pushing people forward, and then you've got someone with the pace of Brian Hill to get in those gaps and make the runs and stuff. And actually, hit them on the counter attack and tie that game up a lot sooner than it probably should have been. So yeah, that was my only criticism of the second half. I thought the subs were a bit up and down, but Conte will be happy. He wasn't in the dugout for this one because obviously his rant in the last match. Yeah, it was good. It was good. It was a good reaction. Abysmal first half. Cannot let that escape, but they were a lot better. And I think on the whole of the second half, they probably deserved it. A draw probably was the fair result, but I think Spurs did enough on the night to go through, and I'm glad that they did because it means not only are they through, so last week's thing against Sporting is completely null and void. Like that, all that drama and everything doesn't matter now. It's over. It doesn't matter. It's completely, from this moment, it is irrelevant. But it's to finish top of the group as well. It's an important thing. A night where every single team was top at one point, I think. Shows you how tight the group was. And no, like I said at the start, Spurs could have seen this off and sorted that out and let everyone fight for second place last week. But they got the job done in the end, and that's the main thing. So yeah, really good. Like I said, finished at the top, so it means easier draw, hopefully, but also second leg at home, which is always the big appeal of finishing first. And they're into the last 16, so it is good. Last 16, is it last 16? I can't remember anymore. It's been a long day, but they're into the knockout stage. So yeah, really good. I'd say man of the match. I think Kane really improved in the second half. The whole team obviously improved, but I think Kane obviously he was going forward a lot. He was holding the ball up a lot and whatnot, and he was performing a lot better. But I have to give it to Rodrigo Bentancur. I thought he come out in that second half. He was anonymous in the first half, as was the rest of the team. He came out in that second half and he did not stop running until he's taken off. And he's been a shining star in this team in the last few weeks. For all the bad performances, he's been 110%, apart from the first half. But he just didn't stop running that second half, and that's what I like to see. And yeah, he actually had a really good chance. He won the ball back, ran up the pitch, and Lucas Moura was open. The ball was just not right, and he kind of passed it behind, and Spurs ended up wasting the chance. But some fine tweaks here and there. But yeah, really, really good performance from him. So he's my man of the match. We're in action on Sunday against Liverpool at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. I'm under no illusions. Whilst Liverpool are by no means the same team that they were last season, they are still a threat. They still have world-class players. They beat Napoli tonight, who I know Napoli had already qualified, so maybe it didn't mean as much to them. But yeah, I think I don't know. I think it's a bit of an odd one. I think Liverpool are going to be there for the taking, potentially, but I would not write them off. I would not write them off at all. I think it's going to be a difficult game. Salah's kind of coming back into form as well now, so yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on it. It's going to be difficult for sure. I'm not expecting a walk in the park. I know Leeds got the result at Anfield last weekend, and they have been dropping points. But like I said, Spurs don't like doing things easily. Spurs do not like being gifted gifts, and it'll be hard work. But hopefully they can go in with the right frame of mind and go and try and get 3 points. It would be 3 important points as well. So yeah, we'll have to see how we do. But that's all for Sunday. So I'll see you guys then. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, like button, all that. And I will see you guys in the next game. And as always, come on, Spurs.